Last weekend, we went to Brockport, New York, a 6.5-hour drive one way from our place in Ohio, up along Lake Erie, across Route 90 to the Ledgedale Airport, where we came across one of the trickiest surfaces we've ever raced on. Neither one of the boys have ever raced here before, and this is the first time out this season for the S10, and unlike the Falcon, we don't have any data to start out with to get ready for first round. While the kids were getting the cars ready, I was getting ready to help Ty Ranger pop the big question to his girlfriend, and she has absolutely no idea.
A few months ago, Billy and I came up to New York and bought a Mustang from Ty. And this is the first time that Ty and myself have sat down face to face and talked. Not on the internet, not tossing jabs back and forth, right? So he starts telling me and Billy, introduce himself and like little life story time, right? Talked about losing his dad at a young age. Talked about some things that he's had going on in his life the last couple of years that have been pretty rough. And then he starts talking to me, and I've always been hard on him about dating girls way outside his pay grade. But he sits. Yeah. But we're sitting there at this bar. Go figure. Weird. He starts telling Billy and I about this incredibly smoking hot blonde that he's dating, right? And this incredibly smoking hot blonde has got this incredible daughter, right? Nikki, Michaela's her daughter. And the conversation really turns pretty serious. Like, we're kind of joking around a little bit, life story time, but then all of a sudden he gets like really serious, like, I got some things, I want to make some changes in my life. I want to make some changes to do better. I want to do this and I want to do that. And in order to get where I want to go, I need to turn loose in my car. And Billy and I, it was hard. We didn't want to leave with the car, but we had to. But the reason I'm standing here in front of you guys today is something very important is about to happen right here in front of everybody. And I've been watching Ty. He's pretty slick. He's up here drinking and handling chips like I can't do that sober. Right? But he's got something pretty important he wants to ask Nikki.
You got a present for her, don't you?
Oh.
A chip draw.
Oh.
Chip draw.
Is there something in that? Look in there.
I'm gonna fall.
As you're watching this, Nicole's daughter is standing right behind her over her left shoulder in the pink sunglasses.
And that story was 100% true. That was no bullshit.
That was without a doubt one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done, but also one of the most important. It was an awesome way to kick off our weekend, and we had an absolute blast in New York. There were actually 2 races this weekend, the race on Saturday and then another race held by a different promoter on Sunday, and we stayed for both. The venue, the spectators, the fans, and the owner of the airport made us feel incredibly welcome. Although neither one of the boys won their classes, they did extremely well for never having raced here before. Sunday evening we had to be finished up by 6:30 so a plane could land on the runway. Tommy ended up in the second chance race final Sunday evening, and you can watch all that action on Street Racing Channel if you haven't already. After we packed up and left the airport, we made our 6.5-hour trip back to the house, and we got home around 2:30 in the morning. We got all the trucks and trailers parked, and then Billy got the Mustang out to drive Allison and Tommy back to their house, so really none of us got to bed before 3:30 in the morning, which made it pretty rough on me and Vicky, because Monday morning, we had concrete arriving. Roger Dorsey with D&D Concrete was here first thing in the morning with his crew to pour concrete on the front porch of the new shop.
Blame it on you if it's messed up.
The first thing on my agenda was to help the kids check out the front end on the Falcon after Tommy did this massive wheel stand on Saturday afternoon up in New York. We needed to check out the front struts and the front suspension to make sure it's safe to take to Brown County for War in the Woods this coming weekend. While the guys are busy checking out the Falcon, me and June Pup hopped in the 64 and we head into Jegs to pick up a new set of tires for both the Falcon and Billy's Nova. While June Pup was busy holding down security in the 64 out in the parking lot, I got a call from the shop letting me know that the Falcon also needs brake pads, which they thankfully had in stock right there at 11th Avenue, along with a couple timing chain covers that I need to run up to Uncle Bob's after I drop the tires off at my shop. I've also got some small block Ford parts I need to take up there to drop off for Billy. Good luck trying to keep track of everything we've got going on at the machine shop. We've got 2 small block Chevys, 1 small block Ford, 1 Hemi, and 1 LS motor under construction. We're back. June Pup.
I can't put my hands down.
She's terrible.
My hands in my pocket.
So where are we at on these two?
Waiting on parts.
Waiting on parts. What parts are we waiting on? Camshafts?
We're waiting on camshells now.
All right, so this is the 427. This is the giveaway motor.
Yes.
And that one's all together. And then Tommy's engine, this is the one you had to clearance the block for the rod bolts. It's all together. It's just waiting on camshaft. The cylinder heads are laying there. I brought you another set of cylinder heads today. I brought you a whole bunch of stuff. What all did we bring up here today? I got 2 timing chain covers at Jegs, another set of cylinder heads, rockers, and stud girdles from Trick Flow. I think those are in that box. And there's an oil pan. Do we have 2 oil pans?
The other one's in my truck.
Oh, okay. So we've just about got everything we need to put these two, finish them up. We're just waiting on cam and lifters, and we can't figure out what push rod length we need until we get the cam and lifters. So that's kind of got us on a holding pattern. But other than that, Tommy's engine's just about ready to go. And which one are you going to try and finish up first, Tommy's or the giveaway motor? I'd say probably the giveaway motor.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was leaning towards.
Because then we can go ahead and get it on the dyno.
Right, but the other one will be right behind it.
All right. So 415 cubic inch nitrous motor, and it'll have a solid roller in it. And then this one should have a hydraulic roller. I think Nolan's sending us the same camshaft that's in my Malibu for this one. So this will be a flat top piston 427 with a hydraulic roller and the same heads and everything that are on my Malibu. That should make a really, really strong street motor. It should probably run a little bit better than mine, I would imagine, with a 4-inch stroke.
It's 4 little nitrous.
Ooh. Or boost.
Or boost. Whoever wins it wants to play around a little bit.
Well. So we still need head gaskets, oil pan gaskets, head studs, probably intake manifold bolts.
I said oil pump stud.
Oh, oil pump stud, yeah. We've got the oil pumps for them? Yeah, okay, very good. Melling sent us these really nice shark tooth pump. We've been using these in all our engines, and we've really had good luck with them because obviously there's no pickup to fall off. That's what I like about them the most. You never have to worry about a pickup coming off. And they're easy to take apart and clean out, and just had really good luck with them. We run standard volume pumps with high pressure springs so that we don't pump the pans dry. So that brings us to Tuesday morning, and we've got another project on deck. That being to replace the leaf springs on the back of Dad's 55 Chevy. The rear springs on this car have been weak since the mid-1970s when Dad put air shocks on the back of the car to try and hold it up. It really hasn't been much of a problem until the other day I noticed that when I shift gears in the car, the rear end of the car seems to want to move around, and it didn't take long to figure out why. The driver's side leaf spring has 2 broken leaves, and the main leaf has been damaged by the traction bars just behind the front mounting point. So while Kenny and Rob are working on pulling the old springs off the car, I go down to see Mark, and he tells me my new leaf springs are laying right by the door. Well, I hope it's a set on the left.
Of course. They should be right.
By the time I got back to the shop, my dad drove his new Chevy pickup truck down to supervise this operation. Thankfully, all the hardware was reusable, and once they had the rear end set back on the leaf springs, the last thing to do was to replace Dad's old air shocks. And although these old Delco units are over 50 years old, they were still holding air. Once the new Monroe gas shocks were in place, it was time to put the wheels and tires back on the 55. And if you've ever worked on one, you know it's pretty tricky to get a 275/60/15 tucked up in a stock quarter panel, especially with long wheel studs. Once we had the tires put back on the car and the tires aired up, it was time to back the 55 Chevy outside to let Dad see how it looks and to take him for his first ride in the car with all new suspension, front and rear. The old 55 now runs, rides, and drives better than it ever has since Mom and Dad bought the car in 1974. Anyhow, now that the 55 Chevy's rolling around on all new suspension, I've got another little suspension project to tackle tomorrow afternoon. Addy and her parents brought her Malibu up to drop it off so we could help them put the exhaust system back on the car and put a new anti-roll bar kit up underneath the back. So we plan on starting on that first thing Wednesday morning. All right, guys, so it's Wednesday morning, and as you saw, Addy and her dad dropped her car off last night. We're going to do some work on it today. They're having trouble getting the exhaust system on. For some reason, the exhaust system doesn't want to bolt up. For some reason, the car sits kind of wonky. That's sitting real high on the right rear corner like it's got an airbag in it, but it doesn't. They've put all new springs all the way around the car, and it still sits funny, so we're going to look into that. We're going to put an anti-roll bar in it. We've got a kit out here. I think it's the same kit that I've got in my Malibu. It came from Team Z. And possibly make some test hits on the test spot down here. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how things go. We got a lot going on. Tomorrow, I was supposed to take the big trailer over to Indiana to get it set up at War in the Woods. But Dad has found another vehicle that he wants, and it's in Michigan, and we're gonna have to go up there and get that tomorrow. Jeremy doesn't have time to take him up there, and I told him I would. So we got a lot going on, and I also need to go down and get my windshield for my John Deere. It finally came in at the John Deere dealership, and my wheel and tire is done down at the tire shop. I've got a tire down there I need to pick up and get put on the front of the tractor, but it just seems like it's very hectic around here. So I went out, turned the lights on, and opened up the shop and got on the road. My first stop was Bowman Goodyear down in Hebron to pick up my tractor tire, and then I headed south down to Lancaster to the John Deere dealership, where I ordered in a brand new windshield for the one that got broken out of my tractor. Of course, I couldn't resist checking out some of the brand new tractors they've got sitting on the lot before I made my way inside to check out what all they've got on display in the parts and service room. Now, this dealership has traded hands since the last time I was here, and I remember that they typically have a really nice selection of toys and John Deere apparel. I'll keep that in my notes for Christmas time, which is coming up here pretty soon. Anyway, eventually I made my way to the parts counter, paid for my windshield, and they had me back the 64 out to the warehouse, where they helped me load it up. While I start making my way back to the shop, Kenny and Robbie are making really good progress on Addy's Malibu. Robbie had to modify the cross member to fit the exhaust on the driver's side. The cross member had already been notched, but not enough to fit with these new headers. I was in a pretty big hurry to get back from Lancaster to check on the guys and see how they were doing and see if they needed any more parts to finish the car up before this evening. Because if all goes well, I'd like to take the car down to the test spot and make a couple test hits on it before Addy and her family take the car home this evening. So where are we at now, Robbie?
We are in our final stages of getting the anti-roll bar welded in. Hopefully keeps Addy's car good and straight.
It looks to me like we got a problem here.
Yeah.
The shock, it looks like the shock body is like right up against the mounting bracket, so I need to get some different shock mounting studs for that. Didn't we put some kind of different shock mounting studs on the bottom of my car?
Yeah, I can't remember what they were. We brought them out away from it.
I think I got them from Mark. And then we're gonna swap these springs side to side because it's sitting wonky. And you said your car used to do that?
My car was that way, and you put the left on the right and the right on the left, and it squared the car back up.
All right, so we'll try that. And then when you take those springs out, that'll give you room to finish welding the anti-roll bar too. Thankfully, we've got a little bit of time to make a parts run down to see Mark at A1 and try and locate some shock mounting hardware that he sold me for my car. It's also the time of month to pay my parts bill, and since he hasn't seen the 55 sitting on the new leaf springs, I figured now is a good time to take it down and show it to him. Came to pay my bill.
Nice.
And Billy's bill.
I know.
Taters on your plate.
Taters, lots of taters.
Hey, you got me straightened up pretty good on them leaf springs.
Hey,
I gotta
car
hand that
looks
to you.
good.
Yeah.
You know, listen to this. This
It's
is
sitting
funny.
out there too. You can go out and look at it.
So my phone rings.
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
So this guy Jerry calls me from Iowa. Wants to know if I can get him springs for his '48 Chevy. Yeah. Guess what? I could.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No
'Cause he
stumping the chump
but the
up from
problem,
Iowa.
no, but the problem was like, how did he know you got the springs? And because I was like, it was not that long ago. So I'm like,
It hasn't come out in the video, but I made
no,
a Facebook post.
you did. So that you had me off guard. I was like, how does he know this? And it's like, wow, a miracle
Gin pup.
of marketing. So, you know, Jesus. Yeah, but that was funny. But I did 48 Chevy. We found some.
Mark's pretty proud of himself because he had a lot of trouble finding leaf springs for a 55 Chevy. However, he did not have any problems finding these shock mounting bolts for the Malibu. He had them in stock. I brought them straight back to the shop, and Robbie and Kenny got busy putting the Malibu back together and finished welding in the anti-roll bar. After that was all taken care of, Kenny went ahead and put the rear wheels and tires back on the car so we could set it on the ground and see how it sits now that we've swapped springs from side to side. Robbie mentioned that he'd had this problem with his G-body, and thankfully, the solution for his car worked on Addy's as well. However, we had one more problem to take care of before we could make test hits. Once we put the exhaust on, we could tell that the exhaust header gaskets had never sealed up. Once all the exhaust leaks were taken care of, it was time to dial the carburetor in and see if the new air-fuel ratio monitor was working properly. I was just finishing up dialing the carburetor in and checking ignition timing when Addy and her family rolled in to see the car. Well, kid, it sounds a little different. Hop in there and fire it up. I didn't realize it. We said it sounded just like my car. Those are my mufflers. I gave them to her.
Oh,
I forgot. They were getting loud on my car because I'd sprayed a bunch of nitrous to them. But I think they sound exactly like the ones that are on my car now.
hey, while we're sitting here getting all these last minute things done, why don't we talk about the details?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, we'll fit it in and it'll get stuck in the middle instead of at the end. So tell them where we're going to be.
War in the Woods.
War in the Woods. Yep. Brown. Huh? Yeah. Addy and her mom are helping me in the merch tent, and Billy and Tommy will be there racing. It's Brown County Dragway, which is in Morgantown, Indiana. And about a 4-hour drive for us. Not terrible. The weather is looking gorgeous. I can tell you that both days, small tire runs about 7 p.m. on Friday night and then again on Saturday night. Anybody that loses Friday in small tire can get into a second chance race Saturday. So it's always a huge turnout. They also have other classes like hard tire and other ones. So there's plenty of racing going on for the weekend. So come see us. Me and Addy will see you in the booth.
Once we had the fuel cell topped off with the 85 and the anti-roll bar set, it was time to finally back the old Malibu out of the garage and let Addy and her dad take it up the road for the very first time. Originally, when they bought the car for Addy, it had a fairly tired old 400 small block in it with some cast iron heads and a flat tappet cam. Now the car has a fresh 406 that Uncle Bob built for her, a brand new set of trick flow heads, a brand new trick flow intake, and an Isky hydraulic roller cam. I told Addy I would make the first test hit on the Malibu to see how it went. Unfortunately, the car just blew the tires off on the first pass, so we had to make some changes. Billy immediately flagged me down so he could make some adjustments to the shocks.
We're making a little shock adjustment.
After videoing the first test pass, Billy made a couple adjustments to the Viking Crusader dual adjustable shocks, and that's all it took.
Short shifting mofo. Jesus. Hey, it pulled the wheels.
That's what it actually did, didn't it?
Yeah, you gonna be able to drive that thing?
Yeah.
Now we just add a little nitrous while the wheels are up.
That's right.
That was awesome.
What?
They pulled the wheels on the street.
Oh, very first time.
Yes. They're coming.
Okay.
It's way better.
Way better?
Yes.
So we made a little test hit, and it blew the tires off.
Yeah.
So I came back and Billy said, let me set the shocks. He went and reset the shocks and went back over. I turned a two-step down a little bit and it just left. Front wheels in the air.
Now, were you in the car or watching?
I was watching the first time, but then I was in the car the second.
And how did that feel?
It felt so good.